Colleen Margaret Burt, B-U-R-T, and then became Farley, and later Dixon.
Right.
And it's a bit unusual because my father's name is on my birth certificate as both the father and the registrar.
Ah.
Because he was the policeman, local policeman in Penong on the far west coast. And I mean far west coast, west of Ceduna.
Wow.
Which is the town with all the windmills, which is worth a visit. And he was at several places along the west coast. And then when I was about five, he was transferred to Penneshaw on Kangaroo Island. And of course, when you're the policeman on a country bunch, you're a mounted policeman. So he used to do his rounds on horseback. But in Penneshaw, he didn't stay in the police force very long. And you think about it, I mean, I'm carried along by the road. He saw an opportunity to buy a shop. And he thought, being the end of the war, it was going to be a good opportunity to a general store. And so we had a general store at Penneshaw for some years, and it's the one that was now the centre. It's now the Sea-Link store right on the foreshore. That's my childhood, and it was a great place to be a kid.
Right. We'll just go back to your dad, because from our conversations, he had an interesting start to his life in Australia and before.
Mm.
Can you tell me more about that, because it's fairly unique?
Well, he was a Barwell boy. Around the 1920, the Premier of South Australia had an idea to bring boys out from England to be farm apprentices due to the fact that so many young men got killed in World War II. And they came out on a base. So when he went home, he only was there a fortnight and he booked his fare back to Adelaide and then joined the police force. And that's when he was the mounted constable. He was in the riots and stuff down at Port Adelaide for something, and then he went country police forcing.
Okay. And where did you eventually go to school?
I started school at Penong up there on the west coast. Rather interestingly, when we came into the village, there was a David Shippard here, and my playmate had been a Shippard up the west coast, which is a bit of an unusual name. And I said, you're related? He said, oh yes, that's my cousin. Next week, he turned up with a photograph of me at about 4 sliding down a slippery deck here in the village. Small place, South Australia.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so that was school at Penong firstly, then Penneshaw for a few years, and then St Joseph's at Plympton, and then Cabra College.
Early days of Cabra, I guess.
Not early, hang on, 51 to 54.
Okay.
That wasn't early, they were already 100 years old then.
Right. And so when you left school from Cabra, what did you do?
I was going to be a nurse, but I was too young to start. And so I went to work at Quarry Industries, which is a great place to work. They liked Cabra girls. They'd had some there that were good, and they used to come up and say, anyone else want to come and work for us? And they paid well.
Was that on Marion Road?
Yes, where Southern Cross is now, on the east side. And I used to ride my bike from just off Merengue Avenue to Quarry Industries. And then I had to leave work when you got married then. And I was in the pay office, and I went straight from there to the pay office at Camelot Cables, which were on Morford Road, for a few years. And then I parted from my husband, and I needed means of support. So I went back to school to think I'll try and do some school subjects, and went back to Camelot, where I'd been the pay mistress before. Then I went on the floor making harnesses, which was really interesting, making wiring harnesses, until I had Christine in 1961. And so I kept on working there. My mum minded Christine, took her to kindergarten and things like that. What else? 61, I can't think there would be a gap there somewhere. Then I eventually started work at Bitchamax on Merengue Avenue, which was a hot mix paving place. Was there for a few years, pays again. Had Joanne in 1967, and then Bruce was going diving up in Broome. Husband Bruce was diving up in Broome for 6 months of the year, going in March, coming home in September. And he said, come up there. So I didn't really want to go, but Christine was in grade 6 or 7 or something, and Joan was about started, and I thought, well, that's not a bad time to do it, so I went up there, and we all lived up there for 6 months. But it really wasn't a great idea because we weren't really happy. So when I came back, we separated, and he went his way, and then I hunted around, got some part-time work, went to Teachers College, thinking, well, if I can't have a job, I need a job that had school holidays. So I thought I'll go and be a teacher.
Yeah, and was that Adelaide Teachers? Or?
In Kintore Avenue.
Yep.
And I thought I'd go and do bookkeeping and commercial stuff, because that's where I'd been working in bookkeeping. And from there I went into another part-time job in the city, and then another job out on Unley Road, where I was there for 20 years, out at Walsh Boyce Key & Co on Unley Road, accountants.
Right.
Doing tax returns and accounts and super funds and all that crap, personal tax returns, for 20 years until about hang on, let me think about this. I don't know, I have to think. Then I went some part-time jobs. I worked in the city part-time. The first time I ever worked in the city, I used to catch the train in and walk up Lee Street to an accountant's office. Didn't really like that one. Then I got another part-time job. I was 60 at this time, so it must have been 98, because I was changed jobs 3 times in 3 years, and they said, you're meant to be stopping work, not changing jobs, you know. So I went to work at an accountant's office down at Brighton for a few years then, until what got me out of there? Can't think. I worked for him. That was my last accounting job. That's when GST tax came in. Every year they'd change something. Either the accountants would change everything, or the computer people would change everything, or the tax department would change everything. And I thought, that's enough of that. When they brought in GST, I'm out of here. So I stopped in about 2002. And I've been a lady of leisure ever since.
Yeah. Just go back a bit. I know that you said you studied at Pasadena Tate.
Oh yeah, well in between there, after I did the Teachers College stint and got a job, I was going to night school at Pasadena or O'Halloran Hill, doing the affiliate accountants course, several subjects and that.
Yeah.
But I was doing the job, but didn't have the piece of paper.
Yeah. So I know that you've lived as a child in the West Coast, etc., and Kangaroo Island and so on. And where have you lived in South Australia other than those places?
Not far. Penong, Penneshaw and Plympton.
Right. And then Pasadena, well done.
Warradale in between.
Oh, Warradale. Okay.
Warradale in Pasadena. That's it. That's it.
That's what. Okay, so you moved from Plympton to the Parks?
No, to Warradale.
Warradale, sorry. Warradale.
Got married to Christine's father, Bruce, and we built a new house. We bought the block, built the house from new. But then we weren't there very long. Bruce had a skin diving hobby. Like first it was spearfishing, and then they went abalone diving. They were the first abalone divers in South Australia. He and his mates, Don Black, Brian Rogers, Rodney Fox, and those. They were all the first abalone divers. And he did that for a few years, and then he had a fella came down from Broome, and he wanted some skin divers to go up to Broome and dive for pearl shell. Because in that days, pearl shell was being picked up by hard helmet divers, you know, with the big round helmet and the pumping in the air. Whereas the divers were using hookers, as they call it, which was a lot different. So he was one of the first. He and Brown and another couple of people were among the first divers who went up there to dive for pearl shell without being in hard hats. And that's what he wanted to do. So he was going up there 6 months every year. And I said, okay, you go up there, I'll stay here. And that's how it ended up. He went up there and I stayed here.
Right. So at some stage there at Warradale, you decided to move into a retirement village.
Well, I was at Warradale for 43 years. I was there from 61 to 2004.
Right.
I was there all the time. And Well, somewhere in there, around 86, I met this nice Canadian. He came over for a holiday and we got together and I went over there and he came over here and we got married.
Yeah.
And so that was 86. We had some good years in there and a lot of fun, going skiing and all sorts of things. But by after I left work and I was busy getting the house at Warradale up to scratch, like to have everything in good condition when I stopped work. But there were still some big things to be done and Art wasn't really very energetic in terms of, doing stuff. So when we heard about this retirement village, had a look at it and it seemed like a good idea. So we shifted in here in 2004 and we had a couple of good years here, but he wasn't very well and he spent the last few years just about hibernating until he died in 2012.
Right. Just after
his 81st birthday.
Okay, right. And why did you choose the parks? Because just you heard good things about it?
I was going past one day and I thought, that looks like a nice place in there, and had a look. And I asked about the price of a 3-bedroom house. What do you want 3 bedrooms for? Well, you want one for the computer and the books, Come and have a look at this 2-bedroom one with a utility. And I thought, that's nice. Dragged Art up here and he thought it was a good idea. Well, the idea of the no maintenance, that was the real selling point.
Yeah,
was the fact
because you've been doing up the house.
Yeah, well, I did no more maintenance, so that was the real selling point. And of course, it's a good place to be. So that was 2004.
Right. Okay. We've only got a couple more questions, I guess. What activities have you been involved with in the village?
Oh, that's a bit different. Well, in the first place, I organised the single women. I'd been in a club for single people for years, like single people in older age, where there was nothing to do, no social activities planned. So we had a great social club. And I thought, well, I'll organise the women who are on their own so that they know each other. That's the big thing, was to get them all to know each other. And this was early days. People didn't know each other in those days because they'd all just shifted in. So I organised a group called the Juliettes, which was just us ladies interested in eating and talking, because there were Romeos around the place, which were retired old men eating out.
Ah, right.
So myself and Marlene Forster and another friend, we used to go out and we'd scout around for something to do 1 month and then organise a group to go the next month. We'd have every alternate months, we'd have afternoon tea in the clubhouse or go on an outing somewhere that we'd already sussed out. And we did that for a few years until about 2009, I think it might have been. I had a knee replacement operation and I couldn't do it. And it sort of fell. But anyhow, by that time, that was 5 years and people were they all knew each other better then, so it was less necessary sort of thing. But some people here still did it. And, we still remember it probably. And then, I don't know, somewhere around there, I think Gillian organised the first trip to Melbourne to see a show, and then Val Bray organised some holidays, and I went on a holiday to New South Wales with a friend and Phoebe, and it was great, and I think it was the first one. Marlene and Brian came back with me, and then the village went there twice after that. I went into the place 4 times. And the village went twice. It was such a good place to go. That was Terra Nova, up on the mid-coast of New South Wales. And so I was organising a ship to fly somewhere. We'd fly to Sydney and get picked up in a bus and have a package deal, for 35 people or something. And we did Queensland. We did for about 10 years. We did Victoria. One of the best ones was 2019 to Bright in the spring. That was good. And then it was COVID, of course, and we had 2 more after that, which weren't as successful because some of the original people were dropping out. Like a dozen of the original people were dropping out because they were thinking they're too old, or, I can't get up the steps or something. So it just sort of fizzled then. By about, in COVID, it sort of died, but probably for the, might have been the best part of 10 years I organised it. And I always organised a group to go to the Morning Melodies at one time in the show. And then the finance committee for about 7 years. No, not the finance committee, the real committee for 7 years, and then the finance committee after that. And I only stopped the finance committee a year or two back.
Yeah. Comments been made about you're very good.
And I've still been doing the tickets for all the tickets for the shows.
Yeah. People have said you're a very good forensic accountant.
Oh yeah.
Were you doing that in your paid working life, or I mean the forensic side of accounting?
No, not forensic.
No, just
because
close watching accounts.
Well, because I worked at the accountants, you see, that's what you did. You did people's tax returns and companies and partnerships and super funds and all sorts of things. And that's what you did. You put the figures together and you asked questions. What about this? How did that 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, you know? So it was you look for anomalies. You always look for so I just applied that to the accounts here and got them on the computer, or got them into the cash flow manager, because first they were being handwritten. I never wrote them, and someone got them onto a very simple Microsoft program, which wasn't really very wonderful. And because GST had come in and everyone had to tidy up their bookkeeping, and they all went onto this cash flow manager, which is a local program, and it's like a digital bookkeeping, you know, and it was easy. So I got the village onto the cash flow manager. I don't know whether they still use it even, but it's been a few since me.
No, thank you. And probably the final question, Colleen. You leave the village in a week or so. Where are you headed?
I'm going to Perth to be near my daughter, well, with my daughter first, until we can find some sort of little nest for me over there, hopefully. Otherwise it might be the old folks home, whatever. I mean, the health's not too flash, so it'll depend on that, what I end up with. You know.
Right. Well, all the best, and thank you for allowing me to interview you. I will put a stop to this now.